Hi, welcome. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. And today we are interviewing a member of the West Bloomfield School District Board named Deborah Evans. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you, Max?
Good. What is your schedule like?
Let's see. And you mean my schedule from a Monday through Friday?
Yes.
All righty. Well, I happen to manage a human resource firm called Walter Canyon Consulting. So, as a consultant, my everyday workday is not quite the same. So, what I do is because I have different clients throughout the day. So, what I do is I have some rituals that are the same. So, I can make sure that I am organized and that my employees are organized as well. So on a Monday through Friday, I usually get up around very early, about 6 o'clock or so, and I check my emails. First thing I do is I drink water and check my emails. And I do that to know kind of what my day is going to look like, if an employee has called in or hasn't, and so forth and so on, and make sure that I have all my meetings scheduled for what I need to do. And throughout the day, then, depending on the client that I have, that day can be different. Sometimes I'm actually instructing a professional development. Sometimes I'm sitting in for a human resource generalist, and sometimes I'm sitting in for a director or even a vice president of human resources. So it's different days. I do different things, but one thing I do is make sure that I do check in with myself and 2 days out the week, I do schedule some critical thinking for me and for my team as well.
And then does that cover school board stuff too? Are you just on the school board or do you visit like the schools in the district at times or
Well, you know what? During the daytime, so again, I remember I told you I checked that schedule. So what happens is during that week, I usually plan my week probably on a Sunday evening. And if I have school board things to do, it's certainly built into the schedule. So, for instance, as a school board member, I try to service the community by, again, looking and attending different schools. Like, for instance, I just went to a meet and eat at Chico Elementary. So we sat and ate with the student council of Chico Elementary. And we asked them again, that was me and the superintendent and two other board members. And we asked, what were some of their concerns? What was going well? What wasn't going well? And you kind of like to do that over a good piece of pizza. So we did that. So I do those kinds of things throughout the day. Also, I do meet with our superintendent to talk about any issues and that's just again if I have some questions or outstanding. So again, I do make myself available in schools to tour the schools, to see the schools, to talk to students. So yeah, it's busy work on being on the school board.
do you have a favorite school in the district, building wise?
Mhm. Let's see. I think my favorite school in the district is gonna be all of them. I can't say one of them over another because each of them has their own different personality, if you will, and their own different culture. So if we look at, again, some of the elementary schools with our younger children and our younger students, well, it is full of, again, kindergartners and learning how to read and write. But then if we get to middle school, well, you guys are learning something totally different. Then
Uh-huh.
if you get to high school, well, you got even more of a difference. So it really kind of depends, but every day, all day, it's all the schools for sure.
Mm. All right. Do you have anxiety while or before you're making a decision on the school board or just in general?
Well, I think, I'm going to be honest with you. I have learned. I'm a little bit, more mature now. So when I was younger, I used to really kind of have a bit of an anxiety when making decisions, but now I don't. I'll tell you why. Because I've used a preparation practice. So I prepare myself for the decisions that I'm going to make. I'm very data driven. So most of the time, before I make a decision, I try to understand what the problem is or what I'm trying to make a decision about. I try to pull the relevant information. I try to understand the information because I remember I told you a little earlier that I'm a thinker. So I try to pull that information and kind of think about the different scenarios that may present themselves after I look at that information. After I look at the information and I kind of walk it through my head, and if necessary, I pull other good thinkers in with me because sometimes if you're just kind of bouncing things around your own mind, you may not get to the answer that you need. So if I need other people to assist me who have other skill sets that can contribute, then I ask them too. So by the time I'm ready to make a decision, I'm usually very ready, and I have practiced to not have that anxiety because I practice being prepared.
What is the easiest thing for you to make a decision on?
Hmm. I'm gonna go with hmm. The easiest thing to make a decision on is drinking that water every morning, even though I don't like to do it. But it's something I have to do because I wasn't a big water drinker. So that may not be the question that you're really asking, but that's the easiest decision in my day. In my work day, the easiest decision to make a decision on is to make that decision. So what happens, I think sometimes we kind of get paralyzed a little bit when we know that we have to make a decision. And sometimes we don't want to really say, I'm the person that's making that decision, but you have to. And then for myself, as I manage my company, there's a lot of decisions to make every single day that affect a lot of different people. So again, being prepared, I think, is the easiest thing that I can do because I know that I got to make some decisions, but I got to be prepared. So, I am a big reader, so I love to read so I can be ready. I love data, so I can read and be ready.
What book are you currently reading? Because I know before the interview, before we started recording, you're like, I'm gonna look down and read. So what were you reading then? Is there a certain book?
Oh, well, then I was reading the demographics of West Bloomfield and the census reports for 2000 and 2020 to make sure I had all my data read. Remember, I told you I like data for this interview. But I must admit, I am when I read for pleasure and I read for work. So I kind of have two different modes for reading. So for work, I'm reading different periodicals or doing research on human resource management issues and school board issues. So things that affect school districts and students and trends and things of that sort. So I read all that kind of stuff to prepare myself for the school board along with a big package that we get for our meetings that we have. For pleasure, I read all kinds of stuff. I'm a big romance novel fan, so I do read a lot of that too because I enjoy reading that. I enjoy reading. So, and I have some comedies I read and things like that. So, I read a lot of different things, but I'm very clear when I'm not working, I'm not reading anything that has anything to do with the school board or human resources. And I'm really trying to relax to get myself to a spot where I can calm down, make sure that I'm in a really great space. So then I can just pick back up and start working again. So I do like a good romance novel.
Um, what do you do if you're like in a work mode, but then you're not like ready to read something, but you want to? How do you prepare yourself to do that?
Well, okay. So again, remember we talked about anxiety and how to prepare yourself. So over the years, I've learned kind of how to control, myself. So when I don't really want to work, but I know I got to work, is that your real question, Max?
Kind of, but not really.
Tell me, because I want to know so I can answer it.
Well, I mean, you're in a mode to work, but then you're unmotivated to. How do you like get yourself to get motivated to do that?
Well, I think a lot of times too, because again, Earlier, I mentioned in managing, a firm and having others that depend on you, and the decisions that you make really do affect not only yourself but others. So sometimes I think, thinking about it's not just me. So I, Deborah Evans, may just want to do this, but understanding that there is a overarching responsibility and it affects others, then that motivates me to say, I have to do it because someone else is counting on me. So being accountable really does motivate me to say, well, I don't want to do it, but I got to do it because someone else is really, counting on me to do it.
All right, going back to the decisions questions, what is the hardest thing for you to make a decision on?
Hmm. I would think the hardest thing for me to make a decision on, hmm. Well, I think from a personal perspective, the hardest thing to make a decision on is going to be exercise. So I will exercise and I will walk, but I don't really do all what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't always do all my stretches before I begin to walk. I don't do all my warm ups before, I start riding my bike. Sometimes I just get on and go. And so that's not the most positive thing to do. So it's very tough for me to make that decision. Professionally, though, the hardest thing for me to make a decision on would be decisions that probably affect others again. So sometimes it's easy to make those decisions that, everybody wants to hear and we're going to be excited to hear. But it's kind of tough sometimes, even though you must be decisive after you've read your data, after you've done your research. You understand that some of those decisions that you make may affect others and it may not be in the most positive light. So that's a tough decision to make. So again, I don't look forward to those if you have to make them.
Um, what are some of your stretches before you're gonna go on your bike? Or...
Max, I told you I don't really want to do them. So, but what I'm supposed to do is really stretch out my legs. So I kind of do a forward stretch, and I don't even know all the names of them, Max, because I really don't do them. So again, just the overhead, stretching out the neck, doing the arms, the back. If you ask me for the correct names, that's not what I'm reading and that's not what I'm researching.
Okay.
So I'm always going by memory. So don't really like the stretching and things like that. And it's probably the most beneficial thing that I can do before I run and before I ride my bike.
If you need a personal trainer, let me know. The one of the gym teachers at the middle school, Mr. Webb, is a personal trainer as well.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind because I don't like the stretching, Max. I really, I will walk and I will ride and I will do a few more things, but I don't know. The stretching just gets to me.
Uh, what is your favorite thing to make a decision on?
Again, I got like kind of two different lives here, right? So, from a professional perspective, one of the things that I'm so excited about, I always get so excited about, is after my team and I have done research on a particular topic, or we've developed some coursework or some customized professional development, I get so excited kicking it off to the first client. So we develop some professional development. And then we have to go out and sell it. And we tell everybody it's the best product. It's going to help your teams do this or achieve X, or you'll be able to see a reduction in workforce, but or well, I shouldn't say reduction in workforce, reduction in employees who are unhappy. So after we develop a particular training or professional development or product for a particular customer, I am so excited to kick it off and to be able to show it and teach it and do those things for the customer. Also, we do strategic plans. I know our West Bloomfield School Board just went up under a strategic plan. So the same type of process that we use to develop our strategic plan, I do that within our company. So I am someone who can lead a strategic plan effort. It is so exciting to get to a conclusion or to a finished product. So that's exciting.
Now, this is a question going more towards board stuff, but with the new roles that Arts Holdsworth and Ashley Davis are taking, who has been sadly has to leave the board for this election run?
Let's see. I think that
I know
who
Ken
was
Ferguson is.
and Christy Pram. So Ashley Davis and Art will be taking the place of Ken Ferguson and Christy Forham.
Did I ask you what your least favorite thing to make a decision on? Your least favorite?
Yes, and that was those that affect employees. Again, when it comes to, or is this board service or is this professionally?
Ah, who is your favorite person to work with on the board?
Oh, let's see. Hmm. I must say, it's all of them actually. So what happens is from a board perspective, we have the board of 7 and then we have the superintendent. So it's really a group of 8. So the superintendent brings in a different perspective than the board because that is the person who is actually managing the district, and the board is governance. So we kind of play different roles, so we see things a little differently. So it is very interesting to listen and to learn from our superintendent and our cabinet and administrators. And it is also very interesting to learn the different views of my peers on the board as well. So I think all of us make up a good unite, a good, you know, uh, a group to be able to do decision making. So it's really all of them, all of the board as well as the superintendent.
Do you have a favorite person to work with on your actual job other than school board on the other job you have?
So on my other job, my favorite person to, let's see, I got two. I have a strategist and I have an attorney. So my strategist is one of the favorite people to work with because she actually sits and thinks too. So I told you a little bit about thinking and trying to find answers to different problems that or issues that may come up in my human resource world. So it is fun to work with my strategist. And another person that's fun to work with is my labor attorney. So it is fun to talk and discuss the different laws that come up for labor issues. So those are would be my two.
What is it like to be on the board?
You know what? It's an awesome responsibility to be on the board. I enjoy it. I wanted to bring my skills and talents and abilities to the board. It's a volunteer effort. So I think that if you have skills and abilities and talents, I think that the greatest service that you can is to give that back to the community. So I enjoy that. So it feels good.
How long have you been on the board for?
I've been on the board 2 years now.
So you just got elected in before the last term, like the last election you came on the board and you are gonna be on the board for the next 2 more years until the next election, and then we'll see.
It's a 6-year term, so I got elected in 2020. So Max, I tell you, after 2 years with COVID, and so we're not going to say I just got elected.
No,
That was a lot of work going on there.
yeah, but
So
after staying on for the election period is kind of like it's different because it flops. basically, between the amount of people for how many years?
Well, no, not really. So what happens is a group of seven, right? And so about every 2 years or so, during either the midterms or the election, kind of two school board members go up, except I think next time it's going to be three. So about every 2 years, someone else is kind of rolling off and coming on. We in West Bloomfield, we have a 6-year term. So once someone is elected to the board, they're elected to the board for 6 years. So I was elected in 2020 and I have a 6-year term. So, and that's, again, our terms are 6 years.
Interesting. What is your career history other than being a human rights resource, if I have that correct, or do I
Um,
have that
a-
completely flopped?
you got the human part good. So this the study in the art and science of people. So it's a human resource management. So again, I'm a consultant. Let's see. Prior to managing and owning Walter Canyon, I worked for Delphi Automotive. So I have a lot of automotive experience. I was a director there for human resource again. So and finance. So I have a lot of human resource finance and accounting as a background. I also worked for one of the firms, PricewaterhouseCoopers, as a accountant. So I started as accountant. I worked at Pepsi Cola. I also worked at, oh gosh, Max, I don't want to tell you all my jobs. It seems like I've had a lot, but I also worked at Health Alliance Plan as a finance manager. So I've got a lot of finance in my background, a lot of human resources. So those are my specialties.
Throughout the next few years that you have on the board until the next election and then hopefully you get elected some more time. What do you have to make West Bloomfield School District better?
Well, I have my skills and abilities to do that, but most of all, I have some listening ears. And I want to again hear from the community. I have my skill to analyze data to understand again how our students are doing. That's very important. So it's kind of like not what I want it to be or what I hope it to be. It is going to be what it is, and then we have to make sure that we have the necessary educational systems in place to continue to improve and make sure that all of our students are getting the most and the best equitable education. So again, I have my voice to do that. I have my ability to analyze and interpret data. I have my social emotional skills that I bring in so I can make sure that that what we're doing is great for all of you and for all of the small Maxes and Maxinas to come, that we are doing the right thing and making sure that you are proficient and growing in all of your academic excellence.
What are you working on right now? And this can be for the school board and also for your other job.
Let's see. Let's do school board first. Um, we're working on a lot of stuff, I think, on the school board, always understanding the data. So again, making sure that we understand what is going on in each individual school and then collectively as a whole. So again, we just passed did a unanimous vote so we can put a bond proposal on the May 23 ballot. So we were working on that. We're always looking at growth and proficiency for our students. We're also looking at curriculum. We just went through a study session where we looked at curriculum and adding things or maybe taking things away that will be beneficial for the students. We just looked at making sure we open that great new middle school. So there's a lot of things that happen kind of behind the scenes that making sure that you guys stay safe. We want to make sure we continue to do that. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that we're working on the school board. Professionally, there are a lot of things that go on here. I'm actually going to start leading another strategic planning session for a company. That's exciting. I have some professional development that we are completing and we'll be rolling out to a new client. That's exciting. And then a new contract came in to do some more governmental work. So that's exciting too.
And the final question I have for you is, what is your education?
Okay. Well, starting from K through 12, I'll tell you, I was educated in Detroit Public Schools. I went to Cordis Elementary School. Then I went to Noble Junior High School. And then I went to Cass Technical High School. And then from there, I went to Tuskegee University. It's a historically Black university. My parents attended, and I couldn't wait to go. So I did that, and I got an undergraduate degree in accounting. And then after that, I attended Walsh College of Accountancy, Business and Accountancy, and I have a master's business administration, an MBA, with a concentration in organizational leadership. And I have a couple of certifications in conflict resolution. So I know how to solve a conflict management. I have another certification in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I have a couple of certifications that talk about professional development and human resources.
Okay, so I know I said last question, but now that I
I'll
heard,
keep going. It's good.
all right, did you, before becoming school board, think about taking the diversity, equity, and inclusion director in the district before you did school board, or?
Oh, you know what? That's a great question. So, and the answer is no. And I'll tell you why. So, um, the diversity, equity, inclusion executive director, that was a position for the board. So it wasn't volunteer, it's an actual position within the board. At the time where that was offered, I actually was already working my firm, and we do a little bit more in my firm than just diversity, equity, inclusion. Although I can certainly teach those courses, but no, that is something that was unique to our district, and I think that our executive director, who holds that position now, is doing an excellent job. So no, that was not something that would be a job for me, but I do go out to companies and teach actually professional development, diversity, equity, inclusion, and also structure inclusionary programs for companies.
Well, thank you for joining. I had a lot of fun, and I would also like to thank Miss Lisa Graff for composing the email. And I also have an interview with Miss Sonia the end of the month.
Do you?
Yes. And then
Coming
then
soon.
Carol Finkelstein next week.
Max, I think you are one busy guy. So
Yes.
can
I've
I
almost
ask you some questions
yes,
too?
I've almost completed 20 interviews in 6 months. In 6 months.
Wow.
Yes.
All righty. Now, are you ready for my questions?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you want to begin to be Max Cool Gamer Columbus interviewer?
Well, I started off as like a gamer on YouTube, and then the game got banned. It got removed from app stores. I was kind of happy because I thought I tuned out other things because of the game, so I was happy. Part of it was my last name and my first name, and then I just did a random word before that. I'm actually working to change it, of thinking of ideas for the past year, but I just haven't gotten any ideas that I like yet for it. But I'm still trying on that. And then the interview part, which is new in the last 6 months, I've been planning it for about over a year, but then because of bar mitzvah and all that, it just didn't happen sooner. But part of that was because of I'd watch TV, I'd be interested in who played what role, so then I'd do my research on the internet of who played what role, and then it kind of just led me in this path of, ooh, maybe I want to talk to this person, maybe I want to do that.
So for your interviews, will you interview? I know that you interviewed the superintendent, Dr.
Yeah.
Bazzi. So will you interview all 7 board members and the cabinet?
Well, I've also interviewed Ken Ferguson and Stacy Brickman. I believe it was a month ago, if not a few weeks. I don't know. Somewhere in the last 2 months. And then there's Carol Finkelstein next week. And then I'm currently also working to schedule with Ashley Davis and Arts Holdsworth. So who else do I still have?
Let's see.
And then I'm also Dr. Hirsch does not reply to emails. So
you know what? His name was just gonna roll off the top of my tongue. I was gonna say you have Nick Hirsch. Well, maybe Amy can kind of smooth that through with you.
Yeah. But I'm going there for an orthodontist appointment at the end of the month. I'll just check in with his calendar, people, and see, maybe.
Of course, Max. I mean, you know what? I mean, no, you got an inside deal. So
Yep.
you better take up on that. So do you see this, does this spark a career interest for you?
Possibly. I know I'm probably doing something in film. Right now it's creating, writing, and producing. Or my backup idea was opening up a restaurant.
So Max, that you have one over here, right?
I know.
And one over here.
I know. I'm trying to find something in the middle. So if both of them become a different thing, then I have a middle ground somewhere.
Well, you know what? Hey, you can always do a restaurant where you have to actually, I guess, film yourself before you eat. I don't know. So,
or a game show and then eat.
How about, hey, you know what? I hadn't seen one of those, but that might be a pretty good one.
I'll
tell you
think
what,
about
Max.
how I do that.
Right. Well, if you do a game show where you're eating, let me know. I do like food a lot too. So
All righty,
if it,
I will.
yeah, let me know. And then that way we can, we can schedule that up too.
Yep. I'll figure that out. All I know is
Okay.
it might be some questions, and then if you get it right, you get to eat something. If not, you have to cook it. Maybe I'll do that.
Max, you know what? That is going to incentivize somebody to make sure they get those questions right. So good job. Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
All righty. Listen, it was a pleasure. I'm honored that you asked to speak.
Talking to you too.
All righty. Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome.
Okay.
All right. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
I will send this over to you when I publish it.
I like that, Max.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.